Obviously, right now, there is a lot of mystery surrounding Gene Hackman and his wife's death. But if you ask me, in my opinion, the most important detail that we need right now is we need to find out when Gene Hackman's wife passed away. Because right now, we have a good idea of when Gene Hackman died due to data from his pacemaker. It looks like Gene Hackman most likely passed away on the 17th. So for example, if we found out that somehow, some way, Gene Hackman's wife passed away before him, I think that would paint a clearer picture for us. Because if that's the case, we know that Gene Hackman was 95 years old. Gene Hackman was having a hard time getting around. I'm not in his household. I don't know how his life was going personally, but I think there's a good chance that someone his age and his condition probably had a hard time getting up out of a chair by themselves. Maybe couldn't get out of bed by himself. Maybe couldn't use the bathroom by himself. So is there a possibility that something happened to his wife passes away, or something along those lines, and Gene Hackman eventually tries to take himself to the bathroom, tries to go find his wife, tries to move around on his own, and he falls and can't get up, and he dies right there on the floor? I mean, it's horrible to think about, but honestly, that's the best case scenario that we have right now. Because if you want to get into the other scenarios are much, much darker. So if somehow, some way, Gene Hackman's wife passed away before him, then I think we may have a good idea of what happened here. And like I said, that's the best case scenario. Because look, I can accept that someone Gene Hackman's age, I could accept that Gene Hackman passed away naturally. There doesn't have to be a big mystery behind it. But what I cannot accept is that Gene, his wife, and the dog are all dead. Obviously, there's something going on there. And a lot of people, they get hung up on what these investigators say in these early days of these investigations. But often we find out that what we hear on day 1 is much different than what we hear on day 50. The details we get on day 1 are much different than the details we get in trial. We've seen this happen before, so I don't want to get stuck on too many details. But, law enforcement and the investigators said that there's no foul play suspected, no foul play here. And I think people are hung up on that. There's no foul play, there's no foul play. But what do they really mean by foul play? Because I think in this situation, when they say there's no foul play involved, I think what they mean is that there's no outside sources of foul play. Like, we don't think any strangers or someone else came in this house and killed these 2 individuals. But when they say there's no foul play involved, does that mean that there couldn't have been foul play from Betsy, Gene Hackman's wife? Could there have been foul play from Gene Hackman? I want you guys to think about that. Because you hear no foul play, you automatically rule all of these things out. But I don't know if that's what they really meant, right? And let's say Gene Hackman passed away and Betsy took herself out. That's not really considered foul play. You know what I mean? So I just don't want to get hung up on that, because I don't think they actually mean that, hey, there's no possibility that Gene Hackman or his wife had something to do with their deaths. I think what they mean is, hey, we don't think anyone came in here and murdered them. But as of right now, they say no carbon monoxide poisoning. That's been ruled out. We can already move on from that. And that was like the top theory. So, I mean, all signs point towards someone. All signs point towards either they were poisoned or one of them poisoned themselves. Something along those lines. I think there's a possibility that one of them died naturally, or Gene Hackman died naturally, and maybe his wife didn't die so naturally? I don't know. I'm stumped. And like I said, when we hear them say no foul play, I don't think that rules out the possibility that Gene Hackman's wife put something in their drink, or Gene Hackman put something in their drink, or something like that happened. And yeah, I know that's dark. You don't want to go there, but we've been left with no choice. What other excuses, what other possibilities are out there? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below. I could think of a few, but most of them head into a very weird, kind of interesting direction. You know, most of my theories are veering away from, oh, this is all just a huge coincidence and accident. You know, everyone just died out of nowhere. No carbon monoxide, no foul play. Everyone just naturally kicked the bucket. Now, of course, people are saying, well, the dog died because the dog was locked up in a cage in the closet. But I don't know that for a fact yet. And I would like to wait until I know that for a fact before I come to that conclusion, regardless of what anyone says right now. Because I do not trust the information that comes out in the early days of investigations like this one. I'm sorry, I've dealt with enough cases by now to know that their word is not written in stone. Investigators' word is not gospel. Things change. So the dog could have eaten some pills. The dog could have been purposely given some pills. There's possibilities when it comes to that too. I mean, everyone who knew them, they say they were great pet owners, responsible pet owners. So why they would have a dog locked up in a cage in the closet, I don't know. It's just all so weird. It's all so weird. And it really makes me think, like, is there some weird, like, Hollywood stuff going on here? Is there, like, some weird, dramatic Hollywood stuff going on here where y'all just decided, hey, today's the day. We're going to go ahead and end this today. You know, Gene Hackman was already reaching the end of his days. I don't know, when you got Hollywood actors and stuff like that involved, and you think about the weird stuff that happens in Hollywood, I don't put anything past these people at all. And that's not me trying to be negative or say anything negative about Gene Hackman or his wife. I'm sure they're great people. I just don't put anything past these Hollywood types. And it honestly seems like Gene Hackman didn't really want much to do with Hollywood anymore anyway. But yeah, it's just something you got to think about, right? And I've seen all of the theories that are floating around out there, and I know that a lot of people's minds, like I said earlier, because Hollywood is involved, and because this is a Hollywood actor involved, a lot of people's minds have gone to different places like, oh, did Gene Hackman know something that he wasn't supposed to know, so they went in there and knocked him off? Was Gene Hackman holding on to these secrets? Was Gene Hackman about to expose Hollywood? Was he going to do this? And look, while all of that sounds entertaining and interesting, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, Gene Hackman was 95 years old. What's the point in whacking Gene Hackman now? You know, you give him a couple of weeks and he probably would have died naturally. So I don't think that's the case. I think whatever happened here is weird and mysterious, but I think whatever happened here, I think it's more likely that whatever happened is something between Gene Hackman and his wife, as opposed to other people on the outside coming in to wipe them out. And I know this sounds weird, because it is weird. But when I look at this case, and I see, you know, certain things getting ruled out, right? Carbon monoxide ruled out. There's no injuries on them that would suggest that they were hurt or thrown to the ground or anything like that. I start looking at this and I wonder, like, did they all decide to go out together? As weird as that may sound. Gene Hackman was approaching the end of his life. He's already been on interviews in the past talking about how he was scared of death and things like that. And look, sometimes when people are facing death, they like for death to be on their own terms instead of unexpected somewhere down the road. Sometimes people want it to be on their own terms. So as weird as it sounds, I'm just wondering if there was some sort of weird agreement here where he and his wife decided, hey, we're going to just go out on our own terms together, and we're taking our favorite dog with us. And even that coming out of my mouth, it sounds weird. But I'm just trying to make sense of a weird situation. And if law enforcement and investigators have ruled out all of these other possibilities, we're not left with many possibilities, right? And as I was explaining earlier, something like this is the best case scenario. As wild and crazy as it sounds, Gene Hackman and his wife agreeing to just go ahead and ending it together because they want to go together, as wild and crazy as that sounds, it's much better than the other possibilities of maybe Gene Hackman was getting ready to go and he wanted his wife to go with him and she wasn't ready, so he went ahead and slipped something on her. Or maybe Gene Hackman's wife was just so tired of dealing with Gene Hackman and his health. And look, I'm telling you right now, it can put a toll on you. I watched my grandma have to take care of my grandfather in his final years on this planet while dealing with cancer and other illnesses. And, towards the end, the last 6 or 7 months or so, it got pretty ugly. And my grandma wasn't 30 years younger than my grandfather. She was his age. So it took a toll on her. It was a lot for her to handle, even with help coming in to help, nurses coming in to help. So I understand the toll that it could put on someone physically, mentally, psychologically, however you want to put it. So did this take such a toll on Betsy that Betsy was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm over it. I'm out. Those are all of the possibilities that are on the table. But for now, I want to hear what you guys think. Let's brainstorm together down in the comments below. Obviously, there's some things I missed. Obviously, there's some theories that you all may have that you want to share. And I'm really interested in hearing it because, look, sometimes in a case like this, it's not a great thing to just speculate all over the place, right? But at this point in this story, we are at the point where we have no choice but to speculate, right? I don't think that we're at a point in this story where speculating is harmful. Because we already got some of these details out of the way, and we've already had certain things confirmed. We know there's no foul play, at least that's what they say. So there's no outside people coming in here that killed them, from what they say. Right? There's no carbon monoxide. So yeah, speculation and stuff is on the table now, if you ask me. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next video.